You people joined this squad for one reason: to fight movie pirates.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most common laws that everyone's probably broken.
5.3 billion mobile phones will be thrown away this year. Stacked up, that is 31,000 miles of phones, reaching 1/8 of the way to the moon.
Number 20, urban exploration. Draining, urban spelunking, urban exploration, whatever you want to call it, it's basically just trespassing and it's illegal.
Jesus Christ.
Urban exploration is the fancy term for scouting abandoned places, usually old houses or public buildings that are no longer in use. The hobby has steadily risen in popularity, with many YouTube channels devoted to the subject. And who amongst us hasn't tried it out at least once in our lives? Unfortunately, urban exploration typically involves trespassing or breaking and entering, especially if the building in question is on private property. Usually you'll just be told to leave, but depending on where you live or what structures you choose to explore, don't be surprised if you're also slapped with some charges.
Let's find out.
Number 19, lying at self-checkouts. Let's be honest here, self-checkouts are a godsend for shoplifters. Despite some prevention methods being put in place, including cameras and the presence of an employee, the devices are still widely manipulated.
Self-checkout machines increase the risk of theft and in some cases are outweighing the investments companies made in them.
Did you forget to scan that box of soda under the cart? Did you accidentally put your finger over the barcode while scanning? Probably, because data shows that shoplifting's on the rise. Target saw a staggering 120% increase in theft in 2023, and one study showed that up to 6% of all self-checkout transactions contain some degree of theft.
Detectives say all too often, self-check proves not only to be a convenient outlet for shoplifters.
In that same study, 1 in 7 people admitted to intentionally stealing during self-checkouts. Number 18, public urination. Look, when you gotta go, you gotta go.
Come on, do it.
I'm shy!
We don't know what to tell you. Now, we're not talking about dropping trow in the middle of Times Square and letting loose, but surely you've pulled over on a long trip and found a ditch beside the road? Or maybe you've sought out a nice secluded spot in the park because you just couldn't hold it any longer. Public urination laws vary widely around the world, and some jurisdictions may be more forgiving than others.
Here we go.
Nevertheless, if you're caught, expect at least some type of ticket or fine. But therein lies the paradox of public urination. If no one sees it, did it really happen?
Okay, let's go. But come on.
Your bladder will certainly appreciate the discretion.
Doctors have told me that when I feel it, the best thing to do is just release it.
Number 17, fishing without a license. Many of us have tried fishing at least once, even if it was by that creek near our house with a janky fishing rod we dug out of the basement. Maybe you and the gang decided to do some fishing on that one weekend away, and no, you didn't have a recreational fishing license, did you? Well, if that was the case, then you might have broken the law. In many areas around the world, fishing requires a license, and you could be hit with fines if you fail to have one.
A new fishing license is valid from today through March 31st.
Fishing without a license will run you $200 in Ontario, and you may even spend 15 days in jail if caught in New York.
Please make sure this information is accurate. If you need to make changes, you are able to log into your account and do so online.
Number 16, throwing away electronics. You just got a hot spanking new cell phone, so what are you going to do with that old piece of junk? Hop in the car, drive all the way to the recycling plant and hand it over to the proper authorities? No, you're probably just going to chuck it in the garbage.
Many of the chemicals and metals that make our gadgets work are highly toxic.
This certainly isn't a wise move, as e-waste doesn't decompose, but we're probably all guilty of having done it at least once. A number of states in the US have made it illegal to dispose of electronics, and you could face a hefty fine if caught. However, that doesn't seem to have deterred people. In 2021 alone, an estimated 57 million metric tons of e-waste was generated worldwide.
Although phone recycling is on the rise, the majority of handsets still end up in landfill.
Number 15, throwing out the previous tenant's mail. It's a simple fact of apartment living. Sooner or later, you're gonna get something addressed to the previous tenant. So now what? Send it back to the post office? Hunt down the previous tenant and mail it to them? Again, probably not. You'll probably just throw it in the nearest garbage bin. However, it is absolutely illegal to do so. The crime is known as obstruction of correspondence and could attract hefty fines and up to 5 years in prison. We'd all like to do the right thing and return to sender, especially if it's a personal letter or something obviously important. But let's face it, random junk mail typically ends up in the trash without a second thought. Number 14, downloading music. Many of us who were around in the late 90s and early 2000s have definitely pirated music. There's just no question about it.
Before 1999, the idea of sitting at your computer, typing in any song, and immediately being able to download it for free was unfathomable.
Clients like Napster and LimeWire were all the rage, allowing millions to download free music via peer-to-peer file sharing. In response to this trend, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act was passed in 1998 to combat digital privacy, and mega celebrities like Dr. Dre and Metallica infamously battled the file-sharing networks in court.
A federal court ruled Monday Napster must stop allowing music fans to swap copyrighted material.
But make no mistake, these weren't some shady websites that only the most tech-savvy dared to traverse. At its peak, Napster was being used by 80 million people, and it virtually killed the CD industry.
And we'd never go back to the old way of doing things.
Number 13, public intoxication. Who amongst us hasn't wandered home from the bar or pub a little worse for wear? Believe it or not, this is actually illegal, although most people won't bother you unless you're being an obvious nuisance or putting someone in danger.
We did get a little drunk. You get it? Because he's little and he's drunk.
Public intoxication is a criminal offense in various parts of the world, and it can land you in some serious legal trouble.
Julian! I don't know where I felt like I get a little drink around. Here, do you, bud?
In many areas, including Ontario and the United Kingdom, you'll be lawfully detained until sober and slapped with a fine. Laws also vary by state in America, with areas like Indiana and Iowa considering it a misdemeanor punishable by jail time and a $1,000 fine. Number 12, not reporting income. We're calling the IRS on you because we know you haven't been properly reporting your income.
This part of my life is called paying taxes.
Okay, we won't call the IRS, but you probably haven't been entirely truthful, have you? Work as a server and get cash tips? You're likely not declaring all of that. Win big at the casino? You're not exactly chomping at the bit to grab the nearest tax form. Do you sell the odd thing on eBay or Facebook? Are you declaring all of that income? Probably not. And trust us, the threshold for taxable income isn't that high. The IRS demands that earnings over $600 be filed in a 1099-K and reported for taxes. They mean business, so it's best not to take chances.
The following April, Andy did tax returns for half the guards at Shawshank.
Number 11, stealing Wi-Fi. Have you ever sat in a car or a bus stop and accessed the Wi-Fi of that Starbucks down the street? Probably, but by doing so, you may have unknowingly broken a law. There's an actual term for this. It's called piggybacking, and it refers to using someone else's internet connection without their consent or knowledge.
Well, is there any way we could piggyback Wi-Fi from someplace?
The legality of piggybacking is a very murky and complex issue, and it's often accompanied by legal jargon that only further complicates the question. But in many countries, accessing a distant computer network is illegal, and many people have been arrested and fined for doing so.
Apparently, small-town hospitality doesn't apply to Wi-Fi.
Number 10, jaywalking.
Did you see that?
See what? Jaywalker.
Jaywalking.
We've all done it, but only a rare few actually got caught. Jaywalking laws vary globally. For instance, the UK forbids the practice on highways, while in many Asian countries, pedestrians are advised to exercise caution. In North America, such laws are more common. Certain areas strictly allow crossing only at designated points like zebra crossings or pedestrian lights. Some other places take jaywalking very seriously. In 2015, the Canadian province of Nova Scotia proposed a hefty $700 fine to show that road safety isn't just a driver's responsibility.
People are committing actual crimes in this city, and you're hassling me for crossing the street. Shut up!
There are some instances where jaywalking's allowed, such as when there isn't a pedestrian crossing within 164 to 328 feet. But unless you carry a tape measure around, you're just gonna have to eyeball it.
I'll do it.
Number 9, loitering. While loitering may seem innocent enough, the history of this law had some darker implications.
What you want, Grizzly Adams?
In 1992, Chicago established an anti-loitering law to help reduce gang activities and illegal drug transactions. However, the Supreme Court deemed it unconstitutional by 1999. Loitering laws have been widely criticized as unconstitutional since they can be fairly vague. Hence, officers are not supposed to act unless loiterers are acting suspicious. There are formal complaints, or the suspect is doing other illegal activities.
I'm gonna have to ask you guys to get on your bikes and leave this second.
Penalties for loitering can be minor, ranging from simple warnings and fines to major, like jail time and community service, though the latter usually comes along with some other crime.
What are we doing?
We are loitering.
We are shopping.
We don't have any money, so it's definitely loitering.
Number 8, speeding.
Be gentle.
Speed restrictions are pretty universal, with only a few exceptions.
Far on the roof.
The most famous example is the Autobahn in Germany, in which some classes of vehicles do not have a federally mandated speed limit. But even then, there is still an advisory limit of 81 miles per hour.
Right now I'm doing like 130 miles an hour and I'm just getting passed by a family.
The Autobahn also limits the speed of other classes of vehicles, like buses and transport trucks. There is a grace period for going over the speed limit in most areas of the world, usually about 5 miles over the limit. But if you catch a cop in a bad mood or you're being reckless, a fine will be delivered, licenses can be suspended, and if you really have a need for speed, it could mean jail time. Number 7, not cleaning up after your dog.
God damn it! How about cleaning up after your dog?
Listen, we understand. You're trying to be a responsible pet owner and take Fluffy for a walk, and you just happen to forget a poop bag.
Come on, man, I don't have a bag. You have hands.
Thing is, no one wants to step in Fluffy's poop, and it is illegal to leave it where it lies.
God damn it!
In many parts of Canada and the United States, you'll be fined if you leave your dog's excrement on public property. In the UK, you can get a fine of £100 for just walking your dog without the proper means for poop disposal. Even the President of the United States isn't above this law. While in office, Barack Obama dutifully picked up after Beau and Sonny Obama on the White House lawn. Number 6, driving under the influence. If you want to see something scary, look no further than the statistics for drunk driving.
Good news, boys, I didn't spill my beer.
According to the CDC in 2014, drunk driving accounted for almost 31% of all traffic-related deaths in the US. This is why the laws on impaired driving are so strict, and why there are more traffic stops during the holidays, as people are more likely to be drinking during this time.
In God we must.
Sir, please get out of the vehicle.
You have a great night.
In most places, if you're caught driving with a blood alcohol content of 0.08%, then you can be fined and/or jailed. Alcohol isn't the only culprit, though, as driving while high on certain illicit substances and prescription medications can also get you into some serious trouble.
What is this?
The judge recommended I get one.
Number 5, marijuana.
It's better to cough. It's like, makes you 10 times more higher.
The topic of legalizing marijuana has been a controversial one, but steadily the laws are changing.
Is this a medical marijuana facility?
Uh-huh. And no card, no service.
Many countries have legalized medical marijuana for the treatment of a variety of illnesses. In these cases, the patient needs a prescription and the marijuana needs to be purchased from a registered dispensary. Legalization of recreational pot use has been a bit more complicated. One side argues that it's a harmless drug that can bring countrywide revenue, while the other argues that it's a gateway drug, and the long-term effects haven't been thoroughly studied. Overall, recreational use in the US is still illegal on the federal level, although the FDA has recommended reclassifying it to a less regulated category.
You're busted!
Number 4, littering. Evidence of littering is everywhere, with some of the worst offenders being chewed gum and cigarette butts. Approximately 1.9 billion tons of litter finds its way into the ocean annually, which is just insane.
And it is astonishing how they never stop cleaning up here.
If you're caught littering, you can expect a fine, or at the very least, a forced walk of shame to the nearest garbage can.
This burrito is delicious, but it is filling.
The size of the fine depends on where you are. In California, a first-time littering offense begins at a $250 fine and 8 hours of mandatory litter cleanup. In Calgary, Alberta, it's a fine of $500 to $1,000. Suddenly spitting out that piece of gum on the ground just doesn't seem worth it.
You know what? I got gum on my seat. Gum.
Number 3, underage drinking.
He's underage. She's underage. He looks a bit older because he's uglier, but he's in the year below even me.
The legal drinking ages differ around the world, with the oldest minimum drinking age being 25 and the youngest at 15, but only for specific kinds of alcohol like beer, wine, and ciders. In some areas, such as Afghanistan and Pakistan, alcohol is illegal regardless of age, except in very specific circumstances and for religious ceremonies. In the United States, where the minimum legal drinking age is 21, underage drinking is a public health problem.
How old are you?
21.
Everybody out!
According to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, underage drinking contributes to 5,000 deaths a year. Legal consequences for underage drinking include fines, community service, and mandatory counseling.
Excuse me.
What?
When's your birthday?
22nd of February.
What year?
Every year. Get out.
Number 2, online streaming.
Sweetheart, I downloaded it off the internet illegally.
There are many forms of online piracy, and while illegally downloading media such as music is also common, we're focusing on online streaming. This comes in two categories: authorized and unauthorized.
Listen, why don't you stop encouraging people to illegally download?
Unauthorized, aka illegal, streaming sites are easy to identify. They often don't require payment, bombard users with pop-up ads, and offer extremely new content such as movies still in theaters. While accessing unlicensed stream content isn't technically illegal and you probably won't be penalized, you are still participating in a potentially illegal activity. Prosecutors like to directly attack the source in online crimes, hence anyone caught profiting from illegally distributing content faces heavy fines and probable jail time.
You did 10 years for video piracy?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Texting and driving. Driving versus distraction, an age-old battle that seems to have hit a climax with the arrival of the cellular phone.
Sorry, no more work. I'm done. I'm almost done.
If you're caught texting and driving, you're fined and extremely lucky. But if you cause an accident, a fine is just the start of your legal troubles.
I don't remember what I was texting. I don't remember what the message said. That's how important it was.
Depending on the severity of the accident, you can also face jail time and a whole lot of guilt. Even with the introduction of hands-free devices, cell phone-related accidents continue to be on the rise.
I can do better.
According to the National Safety Council, cell phone and text-related distracted driving accounted for 1.6 million car accidents a year in the United States alone. And this stat came before the release of Pokemon Go. So come clean. Have you broken any of these laws? Let us know in the comments below.
One of you turned me in? Who was it?
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.